Future for local farmers and landowners in our local communities.
Hi, Ryan.
We're here for the wedding.
The wedding was a month ago. You were supposed to be my best man.
Told you he'd be upset.
Sorry. See, we were headed to the church when we heard a radio spot for a furniture store.
We really needed new end tables.
And while we were paying for those end tables...
Tell him what happened.
Here's what happened. Jen heard a radio commercial for a 3-day spa package at a big fancy hotel.
Oh, Ryan, it was so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Anyway, we're lounging by the pool.
Tell him what happened.
Here's what happened. I'm listening to a podcast on my phone.
When he hears an ad about a direct flight
to a resort in the Galapagos Islands.
What?
Again, Ryan? So beautiful.
So beautiful. Anyway, we're just getting ready to fly home, and what do we hear?
Let me guess. A radio commercial.
For a car dealership. Tell him what we did.
Here's what we did. We bought a car and decided to drive home.
You can't drive home from the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, did we feel foolish when we found that out?
I really thought it would float.
Radio goes where we go. A message from the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station. They brought you this message.
Hi, this is Dr. Seuster at Covenant Animal Clinic, your hometown vet in Clinton. Now is the time to protect your pet from heartworm disease. We are now offering ProHeart 6, which protects your pet for 6 months with one simple injection. Get all the details by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Whether it's damage from a fire or Illinois storms, ServPro of Piatt DeWitt counties will make it like it never even happened. Find out how they can help you by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Chip Flory here, the host of AgriTalk, the nation's longest-running agriculture talk show. I'm here to remind our listeners on Central Illinois' agriculture station, WHOW, that you can hear our show weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on WHOW's many platforms. On the Big 1520 across Central Illinois, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, and now on 106.5 FM in Logan County, and on the WHOW app. AgriTalk on WHOW.
News time is 8 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Wednesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 8 o'clock newscast. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Late Monday night and early Tuesday, severe weather rolled through central Illinois, and more is on the way on the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday. Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln told Regional Radio the storms of late Monday and early Tuesday were certainly severe as forecasters were thrown by Tuesday morning storms that continued on the way they did. Again, his comments from the Tuesday WHOW Morning Show.
Yeah, we've got a complex. It's a small complex of storms, but they're packing a punch. We had some damage through Springfield and all the way back to Fulton, Schuyler County earlier this morning, some trees down and branches, and it doesn't give up the ghost. I mean, the computer models were really kind of showing this weakening. That's why the Storm Prediction Center kind of made a really small severe thunderstorm box out there earlier this morning, but we've been just tacking on as this thing just keeps chugging along, causing wind damage. It's heading towards Shelbyville now, and hopefully it dies off. I see we just issued another severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Shelby, Coles, Moultrie. It's actually going to creep down towards Effingham eventually. So just kind of keep an eye on these storms. And there's another one right behind this. It's plowing into Iowa right now, and it's going to come hitting central Illinois right around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Probably south of the DeWitt County area, but definitely going to cause concern. The Storm Prediction Center's even ramped up the wind threat to hurricane force wind potential.
Wow.
Storms, 5 miles an hour. We're seeing the threat of intense winds with that next complex. It's going to arrive probably towards the Schuyler County area around 2. So by the time Springfield, Christian County get it, it'll probably be closer in the 3 to 4 o'clock time frame. There's definitely a corridor of intense winds that we're monitoring in the model. Storm Prediction Center has latched onto that. So, be ready for, wind damage in that 4 o'clock time frame, Christian County, even into southern Macon County. Hopefully this thing stays a few of the models miss Christian. They kind of scoop it maybe into southern Sangamon and then curl it to the south. So, we're keeping an eye on the exact track of where this thing's going to go, but just be ready. Any storms this afternoon that managed to go a little bit further north could pack a punch.
Shipman says it's important to be prepared during stretches like this as more severe weather is on the way beyond Tuesday. He encourages knowing the terminology of the Weather Service.
Be prepared, because structural damage can occur with hurricane force winds. I mean, you could lose part of your roof. It can be something to the point where, if a tree crushes into your house could be not uninhabitable in some cases. These level of winds that are potentially going to develop with these next wave of storms this afternoon, can change your life a little bit here. So, you want to make a plan to make sure you're in a safe shelter, or, can get to a safe shelter if warnings are issued for your area. The first thing you'll probably see here, which we already have out now, is a severe thunderstorm watch. And that just means, prepare yourself for potential that severe weather may develop. The warning is your key to take action. If you are in a warning means I've got to do something. I've got to either get to my safe place now, make sure people I are in charge of are informed, and also go to their safe place. That warning is your trigger. Take some action. And, obviously look for the wording in the forecast, or the warning will kind of tell you what the most important threat is. Sometimes we'll have a tornado possible, severe thunderstorm warning. So, those kinds of situations, you definitely want to heed it as if potentially could have a tornado at any time. So, but that's the difference between watch and warning. Warning means take action.
According to Shipman, storm chances will last all the way to Thursday.
Yeah, exactly, Seth. The threat level is a little bit lower tomorrow on Wednesday, but it's still level 1 of 5, which means, any storms that develop, wind and hail, mainly a wind threat, I think, the next two days. But Thursday, again, another punch. We're level 2 of 5, and that includes DeWitt County, kind of the afternoon into the evening. So we're going to have multiple waves. It's not even going to be like only the afternoon and evening. We're going to have like late night storms rolling in, kind of doing what we have this morning, and then there's a break, and then an afternoon, evening. So it's going to, like, every 8 to 10 hours, we're going to just have another wave of storms come through. So the ground's probably going to get pretty saturated here, and maybe some flooding issues could creep up. The excessive rainfall outlook is across all of central Illinois the next 3 days here. So just be ready for that. Flash flood deaths are actually above tornado deaths, for Illinois at this point. So, don't discount flash flood warnings, because your car can get swept away pretty easily.
Shipman recommends having a weather radio in your home, especially during the overnight when that mobile device is off or on silent, or those outdoor sirens cannot be heard. Keep it to regional radio for the latest in those watches or warnings as they're issued, and visit weather.gov/Lincoln for those weather forecasts and weather information. Produce in Illinois is in full bloom, but how do we make it last? Caitlin Mellendorf is a nutrition educator with the U of I Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties, and raves about the produce that is grown right here in central Illinois. She encourages consumers buy local produce and support those local farms and businesses. But most of all, she says, eat it. Fruits and vegetables have numerous health benefits and can be a perfect addition to any dish.
Yeah, summer is such a great time. We have a lot of produce that grows really well in Illinois. And so as people are, as you said, for you've got a garden. For folks that maybe can find roadside stands, farmers markets, sometimes even local stores will have a section of local produce, which is nice. So you can buy that locally. But the goal is eat it, right? We know that fruits and vegetables have good health benefits. They've got different vitamins, they've got minerals, they've got fiber, which supports blood pressure as well, or supports blood sugar management, so like with diabetes care, and with better bowel movements. So fiber is a great thing for those fruits and vegetables.
But what do we do when there is a surplus? Mellendorf says there's many methods of preservation, so no food goes to waste. You can freeze, can, dehydrate, or even ferment your vegetables to keep them good for longer.
What do you do with all of it? Because that is sometimes the challenge with the abundance that we get with gardens, or if you are going to a store and you see maybe a really good sale, buying up a large volume. And so preservation can be a way to make sure that all that money that you have spent, or the time that you've taken to grow that food in a garden, gets used. And you don't end up having to put that food as wasted in the trash or in your compost. Mm-hmm. So we usually talk about 4 different types of preservation. So we have canning, which I think most people think of. We also have freezing, which is super, super easy. Dehydration, so getting all that water sucked out. And so you can turn right now we're in the middle of peach season, so you could dehydrate peaches, you could can peaches, you could freeze them. And the last one that we sometimes talk about would be fermentation. So think about sauerkraut, kimchi. There's just a lot of options. And then the nice thing too, with all of these, they're becoming relatively shelf-stable products with canning and drying. You can can those foods and they become a shelf-stable products. You don't need to take up refrigerator or freezer space. Same for dehydration. With freezing, obviously we have to put that all in a freezer. But if you've got a large chest freezer or even a small freezer in an upright freezer, you can still fit quite a bit of things, because when we freeze those foods, we usually blanch them first, and that softens the cell walls so they can fit into a smaller space, which is helpful.
There's lots of online resources where you can find recipes and ideas for those summer vegetables. Mellendorf recommends visiting extension.illinois.edu, where you'll find a whole host of ideas on food preservation. The sheriff of Sangamon County is not going to resign after one of his deputies shot and killed an unarmed black woman in her home this month. Sheriff Jack Campbell was one of many local leaders at a listening session for the Springfield community that was organized by the Department of Justice. During a statement, Campbell said he's asking for Sonia Massey's family to forgive him and that his resignation would not solve any problems at the sheriff's office.
She called for help and we failed her.
All right.
That's all she did. That's all she did was call for help.
Campbell fired Deputy Sean Grayson days after he shot and killed Massey. He's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder, but Grayson's checkered past, working for 6 police departments in 4 years, 2 DUIs, being discharged from the military for serious misconduct, along with worries about his work at previous departments, has the community wondering how he could have been hired by Campbell in the first place. 2 Illinois FFA members are in the running for national awards. Lizzie Schaefer from Taylorville is a national FFA finalist for American Star in Agri-Science.
Well, this was years in the making. I've been working on scientific experiments since I was in the 8th grade, and I've always been infatuated with how we can make livestock production even more efficient and better than it already is today. So I did 5 research experiments. 4 of them were basically on bovine reproduction and how we can make that even more efficient, especially with embryo transfer. And then my last one was on how we can keep baby calves as healthy as possible coming out of first calf heifers, because that colostrum that first calf heifers produces a little bit lower quality than aged cows. So I did an experiment on how we can try to make those calves a little bit more healthy. So it's been a lot of years in the making, and a lot of the experiments that I did took a lot of time to do. And I actually even competed at the National Science Fair with 3 of the 5 projects that I completed.
Schaefer will be a junior at Kansas State in the fall. Ty Steffen from the Newark FFA chapter is an American Star Farmer finalist. The Star Award winners will be announced during the National FFA Convention in late October in Indianapolis. Learning about horseradish products in Illinois, Robert Gerstenecker of Clinton County devotes 50 acres of his operation to the crop.
Well, I was born and raised in it, and my father got involved with his uncle back 50 years ago, and so I've always known it. Grew up around it. There's not a whole lot of us anymore, but Illinois still raises about half of what's grown in the United States, and so we get to we've got a very large horseradish producing area here in the Metro East area. One of the things that's basically with horseradish, there's a lot of hand labor involved. Our season starts, it's pretty much year round, and we go from early spring planting to, right now doing some cultivating and we don't have a lot of herbicides, so we do a lot of hand hoeing, and that involves hand labor as well. And then in the harvest season, when we start that, it's basically in the late fall, early winter, and we start about last October, beginning in November,
Gerstenegger uses a mechanical harvester and then the product is shipped to either Ohio or Maryland for processing. It's not fly fishing, it's flying fish and the invasive silver carp. The effort to continue to rid them of the Illinois River and bring attention to the issue continues, and it's the goal of this weekend's original redneck fishing tournament in Bath, Illinois, says organizer Nikki Gregerson.
We get a lot of people who don't necessarily live right on a waterway and they don't really understand how bad the issue's been, so they can spread that, across the states. I've had people send donations in the middle of the year. They have no interest in coming to participate. They just want to help raise more awareness of this. They're trying to, it's becoming more obvious and more well known that these fish are edible. They're actually very good to eat. I've had restaurants who had never heard of them call me and ask me about it and how they would get them. They're very good fertilizer. And I think that if we could focus on getting more plants to process these fish in one form or the other, it would put a huge dent in the population and help keep them out of Lake Michigan.
The event runs through Thursday through Saturday. Former U.S. Congressman and Taylorville native Rodney Davis has been appointed the head of government affairs for the United States Chamber of Commerce. In a statement posted to their website, the chamber says Davis will lead their engagement on Capitol Hill with administration working to advance pro-growth policies. Chamber president and CEO Suzanne Clark said in the statement, his deep relationships, policy expertise, and proven track record as a consensus builder will be invaluable as their organization advocates for businesses. Davis served as a 5-term Republican U.S. representative for Illinois' 13th district, was ranking member of the Committee on House Administration, and a deputy whip. Prior to being elected to the U.S. House in 2012, Davis served as projects director for Congressman John Shimkus for 16 years. He will join the chamber in August following the departure of Evan Jenkins from the post earlier this year. News time 22 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Wednesday. We stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. We'll take a look at local sports coming up next.
John Prater here, your new country financial agent at 320 East